what is all this astrology business? Fundamentally, it's the contention that which constellations the planets are in at the moment of your birth profoundly influences your future. A few thousand years ago, the idea developed that the motions of the planets determine the fates of kings, dynasties, empires. Astrologers studied the motions of the planets and asked themselves what had happened last time that, say, Venus was rising in the constellation of the Goat. Maybe something similar would happen this time as well.
Astrology is a primitive belief system made into elaborate pseudoscience. It arrogantly makes humans the focal point of the universe. The movement of planets is supposed to signify petty developments in our career or love life. It was developed in the 2nd century AD by the philosopher Claudius Ptolemy and has not moved on since, despite the discovery of new planets and despite a shift in the Earth's rotational axis that has thrown Ptolemy's zodiac out by 23 degrees.
You probably know your sign, or do you? Try this. Wait for your birthday, then stay up all night and watch where the sun rises. It will pass in front of one of the 12 constellations of the zodiac. They say I'm a Sagittarius, so on my birthday you might expect the sun to rise in the constellation Sagittarius. And it did, 2,000 years ago, when the Babylonians made all this up. But it doesn't now. In the last 2,000 years, the Earth has wobbled like a top. So now on my birthday, the sun rises in Scorpio, not Sagittarius. So maybe you'd have to be a Capricorn to be a Sagittarius, and Scorpios would have to be Libras. See, astrologers are off one full sign. In 2,000 more years, they'll be off 2 signs. But they don't seem to care. So, in these reflective moments, I ask myself, am I a fun-loving Sagittarius or a sexy Scorpio?
Here, look at this. Here's 2 different newspapers published in the same city on the same day. Let's see what they do about astrology. Suppose you were a Libra that is born between September 23rd and October 22nd. According to the astrologer for the New York Post, compromise will help ease tension. Well, maybe. It's sort of vague. According to the New York Daily News' astrologer, demand more of yourself. Well, also vague, but also pretty different. It's interesting that these predictions are not predictions. They tell you what to do. They don't say what's going to happen. They're consciously designed to be so vague that it could apply to anybody, and they disagree with each other.
For the astrology test, each student was given a detailed horoscope.
Robin, did you pass it over?
They were told it was drawn up by a professional based on information they had supplied about when and where they were born. I asked the students to grade them for accuracy on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most accurate.
How many gave it a 1? Let's see a show of hands. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we scored pretty highly with this then. Let's do a little experiment. You've got your horoscopes right in front of you. Take them in your hand like this and hand them over your shoulder to the person behind you. Okay, everybody? And the guy at the end down there, you'll have to come up to the front because these people in the front don't have one now. Okay? Everybody change them around. Everybody's got a... Open up somebody else's horoscope and read it carefully, please.
Oh, God!
What a surprise!
They had all received the same horoscope.
We selected 20 people at random. We asked them to read that week's horoscope for Capricorn, but as a test, we said it applied to their own star sign. Astrologers say this should fit just Capricorn and not the rest. But what actually happened?
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
To be honest, I felt there's some Mercury energy this week because there's a lot of arguments around and a lot of bad vibes. Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
What a load of old junk.
It could apply to me as much as to the next person.
Yeah, well, in a way, yeah. I am, I'm going on a flamenco course in Spain.
That isn't necessarily pertaining to me this week. It's pertaining to me generally.
Pat rubbish.
The same number of people agreed that the horoscope was accurate for them as disagreed, and similar results are found with proper large-scale experiments. Technically, all but one of our group should have disagreed, namely our only Capricorn.
Does it apply to you? Not at this moment, no.
Astrology can be tested by the lives of twins. There are many real cases like this. One twin is killed in childhood in, say, a riding accident or is struck by lightning, but the other lives to a prosperous old age. Suppose that happened to me. My twin and I would be born in precisely the same place and within minutes of each other. Exactly the same planets would be rising at our births. If astrology were valid, how could we have such profoundly different fates?
Get a classroom of people, a group of people who are believers, and don't do what they want. This is what you do. Go to the horoscope that day, pluck one at random, read it to that audience and say, whose horoscope did I just read? 2/3 of the hands will go up, okay? Which we know is not how that's supposed to work. It should really be 1/12 if it had any sense at all. That's the simplest test that I know to demonstrate to someone that it's just bunk, other than the rational arguments that you might spend time offering, like where the sun was when you were born doesn't match where it was 2,000 years ago when this got laid out, and the fact that there are 14 constellations in the zodiac, not 12. One of them is Ophiuchus. Any Ophiuchans here? Okay? Some people know they're Ophiuchans. The sun, after passing through Scorpio, spends more time in Ophiuchus than it did in Scorpius. So if you thought you were Scorpion, you're probably Ophiuchian, and all Ophiuchans and Scorpions are currently Librans. That's how that plays out.
How could the rise of Saturn possibly be a signifier for something that's going on physiologically in a person's body? The position of planets in the signs of the zodiac.
This is what you keep coming back to ask me. How could it possibly work?
Yes.
And I've told you, I don't know. It's a deep, dark mystery.
How could it possibly work? How could the rising of Mars at the moment of my birth affect me, then or now? I was born in a closed room. Light from Mars couldn't get in. The only influence of Mars which could affect me was its gravity. But the gravitational influence of the obstetrician was much larger than the gravitational influence of Mars. Mars is a lot more massive, but the obstetrician was a lot closer.
I believe astrology misleads the public, denies scientific progress, and belittles our universe. There's a far richer way of looking at the cosmos. Astronomy is a triumph of the human intellect, a real science, constantly enriched by new evidence.
The desire to be connected with the cosmos reflects a profound reality. We are connected, not in the trivial ways that the pseudoscience of astrology promises, but in the deepest ways.